Sorry, we shall figure this out. Okay, let's see. So basically, for those who are new, basically what we're doing here is we're doing reviews for homework in like for the exercises that I've been doing for my writing workshop. We're gonna be looking at that today. Um, so the homework for this exercise, the task for this exercise, task for this homework. Okay, the task for this homework is there are pictures, and then you describe the location with the techniques that I teach you. Okay, let's see. Thus, assault my lungs. Okay. I dive into the sharp remains of the old residence. Any semblance of order to the corridor has been thrown into disarray by the shells still whizzing by overhead. I could touch them in my hand if I reach out far enough. The remains shudder violently by a near deafening impact, bringing down even more dust and rubble. My lungs react by violently hacking up foreign debris in my body. This whole thing could come down on top of me in at any moment, and I need to get out. Yeah, a weirdly not safe thing app for me. Ew, okay. My eyes are drawn to a light at the far end of the corridor, a shining beacon blown open by a terrible battle. So what we're seeing here is uh what we're seeing here is a description of apartment building that is in the middle of war bombing. Okay, so let's take a look. So I think some good parts. Yeah, like it's very visceral. Like Dust Assault My Lungs is visceral. That's good. There's like stuff happening, which is also good. So we don't have to worry so much about like, it's not like, oh, okay, here's this place, here's this place, here's this place. Um yeah, so visceral, there's like different senses, like, what you're smelling, what you're feeling, what you're hearing. So that's good. So one thing, I could touch them with my hand if I reached out far enough. What's the hand? Like what's them? Sorry, I would touch them. Shells like whizzing overhead. I'm not sure. You meant the shells. Shells as in bullet shells, is it? Or like we're talking about bomb shells? The remain suddenly. So bombardment shells. Okay. I see. Yeah, because sometimes okay, so so separate scenario, right? But I wouldn't say obviously you won't be touching them here. But in certain scenarios, let's say if you are talking about the floor is dusty if I touch it, right? Don't say if you touch it. Why don't you just make the character touch it and then feel that it's dusty? So it's more like the experience is closer. But yeah, I mean you can't really touch the bombshell, so please don't do that. Okay. For this one, I wouldn't say or like the remains shudder violently by ear deafening impact, right? How I would correct, like not correct lah, but if I were to improve, what I would do, I would say there's a ear deafening impact, right? So in fact, instead of just saying it's an impact, you just say bomb, like describe the sound, right? So what's the bombing sound? Boom. There's a ear deafening boom, boom. But how do you describe boom? And the building shudders violently. Dust and rubble rain down around me. Yeah, so because this is the cause, so this happens first, then there's the effect, right? If I read the effect first and then I read the cause, right? Like it kind of it feels like a bit of backtracking. So this is a bit more advanced, but if I'm a reader, I would say that this one, yeah, the ear deafening impact feels like it should come first. and then the building shudders violently. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I will put this. I will put this behind. Past or present tense. Up to you. I'll leave that up to you. Yeah, but otherwise it's not too bad. I think not too bad. It's not bad. It's not bad. I need to give credit where credit is due. Yeah, it is. I think it's visceral. I think it's good. Like it definitely gets the reader into the story, which is what you want, right? Hi Zachary, just ended rehearsal. Hey, hope you enjoyed a rehearsal. Gonna go get some breakfast. Hey, enjoy your breakfast. Hey, Mr. Show. Yeah. So for those here on the Discord, I am recording as well. So we should. I will probably tag that on as a lesson in case people wanna look up look up like the feedback and stuff. Okay. So funny thing about this image, this is the I believe this is the cloud forest in Gardens by the Bay. It looked so surreal and I love it. I love the cloud forest. So this is the cloud forest. It's basically a giant greenhouse of sorts that spans like a few floors. And so you go to the top. Basically, when you enter, you take an elevator to the top, and then there's like a whole pathway down. And you are really just like, this is the scale of it. It's so intense. And this is what it looks like at the top. Like those are not real Rafflesias, there's a Lego Rafflesias, but it's amazing. You enter through here, you get to the top and you go down. I found it looks amazing at night. It looks like this. And I found a really nice close-up picture. And for this. And I was just like, oh my goodness, this is so good. Yeah, this is the Gardens by the Bay, if I'm not wrong. Okay. Let's piece this here. Because otherwise I won't be able to edit it as well. Okay. Through the marvels of modern day technology, we finally tamed the environment. The sandstorms will no longer strip any surface bare, including the faces of the statues of our dear leaders. No more monsters threatening the houses of everyone. Like my granddaughters I love so dear. No more thunderstorms disrupting communications as the fires are striking lightning at the city. Today, man has conquered the environment which so harshly lashed back against the steady march of technological progress. We could finally look up at the sky again and see the mantle close for the first time and show us the real sky. Beyond the calamitous weather which brought us here, at long last I can gaze upon the completed project I worked so tirelessly on. One last look before I leave this place to the future generation. My job here is done. No need for an old soul like me to slow them down any longer. I couldn't bring them salvation, but I can give them hope. So this sounds interesting. It's like a post-apocalyptic land or something like that. So yeah, there was a bit of some editing stuff. Like so, off would be off the statues. This granddaughter's thing. It feels like I can see this adding on to the lore, which is nice. It feels maybe it's the sentence structure. Let me think. So maybe I would do something like no more monsters threatening everyone's houses. Like that reads better rather than the houses of everyone. Just say everyone houses. Or even better, our houses. Okay, shorter, easier to read. Okay, like my granddaughters I love so dear. No more thunderstorms disrupting communications. Today, I think a comma should be here. Today, man has conquered. Which the harshly backlash. We could. We could. We can. We can finally look up at the sky again. For the mental. This one feel. Is this a. Yeah. See the mental first for the first time. Okay. So something to keep in mind. This is a clunky sentence. There's quite a lot of words. How many words is this? What's the word counter? Oop, that's not it. I think it's Control Alternate C. No, Control Alternate V. No, Control. Oop, that's not it. Oh, Control Shift C. 33 words in one sentence. So like 33 words and there's no comma as well. Yeah. So maybe I'll say just for the first time. Uh first time. Yeah. I'm not sure what's this. Show us the real sky, right? The real weather, like perfect against glass. It's glass walls and feeling something like that, right? So you could something like that. Here Naku. Hi, I'm reviewing editing the homework submissions. So something like that. I'm not sure what you want to get out of this one, but maybe a bit of description. Yeah, this one could use some work. At long last, I can gaze upon the completed project. Maybe I take one last look, so it's a bit easier to read. Yeah, then I think it's not bad. I think it's good effort. Okay, let's try another one. I'm not sure who submitted this. Damn it, I opened a bunch of tabs. I don't remember who submitted what now. Yeah, I walked down the set of stone stairs to my final stop for the day, and already the combination of fish fuel and salt water penetrates my nose in a foul but nostalgic way. The gulls are loud, but not so much to drown out the lapping water splashing against both rock and metal. In the distance, I hear one deep bellowing horn announcing a ship's arrival. My hand itches as I try to glide it across the fraying ropes. I curse after I stamp my foot on the small post anchoring the water vessels. Oh no, this man is clumsy. There aren't so many people here without purpose. Some are captains of their carriers, followed by their respective crews loading and unloading cargo. A few children walking with their grandparents point to smile at what I can only assume are the wondrous sights before them. If it weren't for the head-pounding lights glaring into my eyes on both lampposts and ships, this harbor could maybe, just maybe, be also a smiling scene for me. Okay, not bad. There is a lot of color, like there is like a lot of like there's smell, there's sound, there's sights, right? And that's nice. This is also visceral, the frame ropes, but he sounds so clumsy. Oh, this man's drunk. Okay, that explains. If this man is supposed to be drunk, it makes sense. Because I'm just wondering why he's stumping his foot on the beast pose. I think there is a name for it, right? So first thing, like pose. Oh my god, my keyboard. Pose to tie ships. Cool. There. So bits, right? So you might want to say after the on a bit, right? If you know the word, just use it. Bit of a lot, yeah. Then okay, so here's a sentence that I would recommend simplifying. You see, there's a double negative, right? There are not so many people without a purpose. Or you could say almost everyone here has a purpose. Right? Almost everyone here has a purpose. Or almost everyone here has a task. Here is working on a task. Or is working on their job. Or almost everyone here has a job. Yeah, you see? And that kind of reads better than like almost like not a person here has no job, right? Like no purpose. Like, almost everyone here has a job. Some of the characters are career followed by like so maybe you can say so rather than saying some, right? You can just go down to so let's put that down below. Let's isolate it. The double negative might work for conveying the character's negative attitude. Okay, I mean, fair enough if that's what you're going for. It does make it a bit harder to read. So just something to keep in mind, right? No one is here without purpose. I mean, some maybe sightseeing, which I guess would be a purpose as well. You can change like captains, like you could say ship captains and their crews work to load and unload cargo. See, boom. This kind of has like the same, pretty much the same information, but it reads better. Not everyone is as useless as me. Oh, okay. Yeah, possible, right? Then maybe you contrast that. So like almost everyone here has a job, unlike poor old me, right? So something like that. So rather than saying a few children, right, walk with their grandparents. So a lot of it can be simplified, right, to for easier reading. So a few children, right? You just say children walk with their grandparents. Uh Pointing and smiling at what I can assume are the. So instead of saying I think they are the one, I think they are pointing, you can just say they are pointing at the sites before them. If you want to say wondrous, sure. Yeah. Wondrous sights before them. Is this a typo? Children walk with their grandparents pointing and smiling at the wondrous sights before them. Yeah. Oh my goodness, bison! Hello. Yes, bison. Yeah. So I think that simplifies the sentence. I think that makes it easier to write to read. That's up to you. If you don't think so, then like that's fair enough. Yeah. Here the maybe just maybe sure it adds personality. So it's not like everything needs to be cut. If it's intentional, then go for it. Okay, so I will also simplify. If it weren't for the head pounding light that glared into my eyes, you don't have to say glare into my eyes. Just say if it weren't for the glaring lights from the lamppost and ship. In fact, you can just say from the lamps, street lamps, lampposts, and ships. Yeah, something like this. You don't have to say the lights that glare into my eyes. You just say the glaring light. So that's how I would edit it. Okay. Let's try another one. Ooh, futuristic. The glaring lights pierce my eyes. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so this one, right, you could make it like the glaring lights pierce my eyes, but then that sounds like a statement that stands by itself, right? This statement is just like there is like if not for A, therefore B, right? And because there's a more complex structure, right, then I would have to make this part short also. I can't describe it too much. Otherwise, if it's not for the glaring lights that pierce my eyes, like the glaring lights that come from the lamppost and piercing my eyes, this harbor could be like a whatever. You see, so that becomes more. If you want to describe the lights more, like, and you want to include the head pounding part, see, the glaring lights from the lamppost and ships pierced my eyes, giving me a pounding headache. If then now you can make this whole sentence more complex. Then the part where this smiling scene you could change edit as the back. So if not for them, then you put this harbor. See, there we go. Then you put this in. So now you have two sentences because the previous statement was trying to do too much. It was trying to describe the lamppost and the ship and the lights, right? And it's glaring and it's giving me a headache, right? There's so many point forms in there. And then now you want to couple that with like a complex emotion of like, man, see, I want to feel good, but it's so difficult, right? Yeah. So I think you wanna keep that in mind. Yeah, because otherwise the sentence will be too much. One sentence. Okay, let's try futuristic. I'll come back again. Okay. Josiah took one look around the desolate mall. Is mall the right word? Or museum perhaps? Or sculpture's creative vision to set a new trend in commercial building designs? Nothing. Okay, so nothing around here reminded Josiah's of home. The walls had no understanding. The author says you'll be disappointed. Wait, why? Ah, it's fine. Don't sweat it. There is. Do you like? I think if you've written something, right, that you have never written before, I'm happy. Like if my writing workshop pushes you to write something new, right, and learn something new, I'm happy. Because honestly, like being able to inspire and motivate people to write, right, when you otherwise would not have done so, like yeah, like it means that my effort isn't going to waste, right? Nothing around here reminded Josiah of home. The walls had no understanding of straight or rigidity. Rigidity. I'm bad at pronouncing. The curving walkways were barren of any niceties. Niceties? Niceties? How do you pronounce this word? Oh my goodness. Cut and paste indents in the wall serves as doors and windows leading into presumed shops with, you guessed it, white curved walls. But what bothered him most was the floor. It was like walking over a bottomless bed of water. The reflected surface, though dimmed in color, showed the boy everything he couldn't stand about himself. I see. So like this is nice. There's like personality, right? Like the guy has like maybe confidence issues, or he doesn't like who he is as a physically. The mirrored ceiling was just as guilty in crime. Ooh, he's guilty in crime. Visceral. Amplifying the nausea. Of the subtle buzzing of the lights overhead, anxiety gripped his heart like one sneaker's grip like his one sneakers gripped the polished floors. The environment was so foreign, he felt out of place, he hated it, he wanted out. Okay, repetition. With careful breath, he closed his eyes and walked forward. Every step echoed speak and only reverberated tenfold back to him. Why? Why did it have to be so different from everything else? Let me think. This feels dystopian. Yes, it does. So I think when it comes to scenes where it's very different from what you get in real life, you usually have to focus a lot more on describing the physical location, right? For instance, if it's a city and you want to focus more, like for instance, in here, in the previous one, we know what a wharf looks like, right? In fact, you can say the wharf, right? I'm at the wharf walking down. Oh, it's a flight, by the way. I wouldn't say set. Flight. Flight of stone stairs. Yes. So you tell them wharf, and then people can create the wharf in their mind, right? But in here, when there's so much futuristic stuff, right, it's very hard to imagine. You see, so I don't like you tell me it's a mall. So I start to think it's a mall. And then you tell me it's a museum. Then I'm like, okay, so basically we have the advantage of the picture, right? We can look at this picture and then we can say, oh, okay, this one describes the picture. But let's say you take this out, right? And you take out the picture. Desolate mall. So I start to imagine a giant shopping mall, right? Or is it a museum? Then I'm like, okay, so it's a mall or a museum? Or it's a sculptor's creative vision. So I'm a bit lost here, right? So you could maybe introduce like Josiah looked at the corridor around him. The walls were and curved in haphazard. The haphazard is a very strong word and it sounds very negative connotation, which is what you want here, right? Because he seems to not like any of this. In haphazard, like swerved in haphazard curves. I don't like the rhyme, but let's just use that for now. The smooth white wall swerved in haphazard curves. Then you can bring the as if the architect had no concept of straight lines when designing the space. See? Something like that. Eh, I am terrible. See, so this helps me to visualize what the scenario is, because if you're telling me it's the mall, yeah, so now you can throw that in, right? Was this a mall, museum, like something like that? Then I think that introduction will help me to understand this better, if that makes sense. But beyond that, I like that there's like more personality. Like, I think my intention was like, oh, you guys can focus on a setting. So I thought it's quite cool that you guys are like, oh, okay, let's make the main character have an opinion, and that opinion is also gonna reflect like the character's personality and blah blah blah. So I think like, you guys are doing a bit more than I expected, which is quite cool. Like I think it's good that you guys are exploring that. Yeah, one thing I would change mainly, just pay attention to physical stuff more when you are dealing with settings that readers are not familiar with. Okay, so we are going back to the gardens by the bay. You see, I'm gonna like, oh yeah, like self insert Singapore. Okay. Them air did not do wonders for Yasmin's sensitive equipment, which bugged out from her humidity. So her lenses fogged and rendered her unable to see the myriad of flowers about the space ark. So now I imagine, is it so space ark gives me like a grounding point, right? The same way if I say it's a wharf, you can imagine the sea, you can imagine the ships, right? If you tell when I start with corridor with curved white walls, then it gives us like a starting point to build the space in our minds, right? So if you tell me space arc, right, I can imagine that. You wipe the condensation off from them before taking in the side of the plant. Despite her 27 years of being here, she never grew tired of the flowers. The bougainvillea, the gummamelas. Oh my goodness, these are hard to pronounce. Many of which come from her home country, several decades before the mass evacuation of all the residents on Earth. Okay, so this seems to be like backstory, environment. Okay, so this is backstory of like the ship. Okay. So let me think. In If we are going for this particular scene, I'm reading this, I will not envision this, right? Because this feels like the backstory of a space, like space sci-fi journey, right? But if you are trying to get this whole like the dome, the glass dome, all right, rest SP. If you're trying to get the glass dome and you're trying to get the forest and the mist and the lighting, this is not what I will see. What I see you know, is there some like biome in the spaceship? But I won't think this. Yeah, that's which is fair enough. I mean, I think that's okay. Like this achieves something. It's just that it doesn't match the picture. which is not a bad thing. Like don't worry about it. Because when you write a story, it's not like people are following off a picture and making you do that, right? It's just that, yeah. So I won't worry too much about that. Yeah, this is more lore and world building. So I will go into world building later down the line. I won't touch on this for now. So if we are looking purely at the physical description of the space, right? I'm getting the damp air. I'm getting the space arc. I'm getting the flowers. and then the rest is lore, right? And then this is lore, and then bounties of Eden, right? These are the only four. Okay, Myriad of Flowers. So I'm getting air, arc, flowers, and then bounties of Eden. So beyond that, it doesn't go too deep into uh the the description, which is yeah. So might wanna worry, right? I would say you gotta be. I wouldn't say you need to be worried about that. If it's just that if your goal is the pictures, right, is the scene, and you want to paint me a vivid scene, you could go with a bit more physical description. The law is good and it's good for world building, right? But the I was okay. I mean, again, I was hoping the homework would go more into the physical stuff, but again, don't worry about it. I think it's fine. Yeah, I will talk about world building in the future lessons. I think this is interesting. I like how there's suddenly law. Wait, how many scenes did I ask you guys to write? Oh, I can't review all three scenes. Let's just do one. And okay, let's. Yeah, I think for the wait, did I ask you three scenes or two scenes? Oh shit! I asked people for three scenes. Okay, we tell you what. We'll do. Maybe we'll do. Okay, why don't we do? Oh my goodness, we'll be here the whole night. Okay, I will pick one scene from each submission. All right, I think that's more doable. Okay, there's a forest. No, there's a typo. I told you guys to use Grammarly. Good, fine. Don't worry. Don't worry about it. It's okay. Yeah, but editing process is good because if I'm reading, right? If I am reading and I see a typo in like your literally a second paragraph, right? The impression of the story suddenly like, oh okay, yeah. Probably not an experienced writer. Like it doesn't look that good. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, no worries. Like it's an easily fixable thing, but because it is easily fixable, when you do not fix it, it can look quite bad. Yeah. Okay. So now we have a forest. The inky blackness seemed to hang over the landscape like a blanket that hid the forest in shadows. Okay. So I will go through this in a future lesson, right? But you want to get out words like seemed to. You can just tell me the inky blackness hung over the landscape. Don't tell me it seemed to be. Tell me it is. He seemed to be running fast. Just tell me he ran quickly, right? He was right. Yeah. Let's see if we can find. Yeah, so this is better, right? The soil was soft and wet. You don't say the soil seemed soft and wet, right? Just say the soil was soft and wet. That's good. The darkness was cold and colored. So it's just over here. It don't say seem. Yeah, okay. I don't see any more of that, so that's good. Oh yeah. Okay, in here, seemed inviting is fine, right? Or you can even say it was inviting. Yeah, was would bring you closer to the emotion, the action, right? Seems create a barrier. The inky darkness hung over the landscape like a blanket that hid the forest in the shadows. The darkness twisted the forms of the tall trees into monsters. Oh, oh. The forms of tall trees into. Okay, this feels like a very complex sentence, right? Now that you think about it, your entries for this homework were more law heavy than description heavy. No worries, alright. I think if you got something out of it, that's fine. But if you want to go back and rewrite, you are free to do that as well. Like I am not. There is. This is for fun, right? If you want to go back and write more, go back and write more. Like it's good to explore. Right? If you feel like you're not making the most of the homework exercise and you have the capacity to do so, like go for it, fix it. Okay. So the darkness twisted the forms of the tall trees into monsters, threatening all who pass. So first thing I will do is I'll add a comma here. So it's a bit, it breaks that thing up into darkness twisted the form of the tall trees, and then the tall trees seem to threaten all. So after that, I will also change it, right? Because in this case, the tall trees are the subject, right? You're talking about the tall trees, right? But you start the sentence with the darkness. So it's a bit difficult to read. The tall trees. Maybe we could put in the darkness. The tall trees were like were monsters. Were like monsters? But I do like the word twisted. In the darkness, twisted into monsters. Or you could use the word like were twisted monsters. In the darkness, the tall trees were twisted monsters. Clearly biased. No. Threaten in the threaten pass. Okay, so all who pass by, I would just say all who passed. I think it works better because all who pass by with like now I'm like by with, is it one word or is it like pass by with, right? Like sometimes like less words can make it easier to parse the sentence in your mind. So otherwise it's not too bad. The sense of the forest didn't soften these fears, as the most prominent of the scents were sharp, tangy, and metallic. Okay. Images of the trees feasting on bodies with torn broken limbs hanging from the grotesque mouth was all the center. So are there bodies in the on the trees, or are you is the narrator imagining bodies like the tree? That's not... Wait, so okay, this one's a bit confusing, right? Like I am trying to imagine the tree, right? What is the grotesque mouth? Like are the branches forming the forming the images of the monsters? Or are the tree trunks themselves having gaps and like cracks and gaps that feels like mouths? So now then which goes to the like if the mouse bodies, are the bodies real? Like are there human bodies in the gap of the trees? Are there human bodies hanging from the branches if the branches are the mouse? It's a bit confusing to me. So I'm not sure what this is trying to do. Maybe I'm blur, but yeah, it feels like it could be clearer. All was soft and wet, as if from a fresh rain. Okay, so you can say as if from fresh rain. You could say it just rain, or like it could not be discarded to the ground. So it's kind of okay. I guess it's fine if you are not certain about it altogether. However, could not be discarded. Okay, could not. It feels like you could. How do I put it? It feels like these two sentences could be tightened. Like it feels like there's a very roundabout way of writing this. So a suggestion would be the soil was soft and wet. Perhaps from the rain or from something else more sinister. See? So something else that wasn't water, right? Something else that wasn't water. It feels like you could make it like, could it be poison? Could it be like some mysterious goo, radioactive, toxic stuff, right? but like I'm not feeling the idea was of saying it's not water, right? Could be like you're trying to convey something sinister, right? So maybe instead of if it's not obvious to the reader that ooh something that's not water could be more scary than water, I will just like see. So this is where instead of show don't tell, right? I could show them like, but I could just tell them, yo, it's more sinister. Are you gonna send us the feedback? Oh no, I'm not. Okay, I'm gonna read because it's easier to read. If I have to give feedback, I have to type out my feedback. I won't be able to go through everything if I'm gonna type out the feedback. I'm sorry. Yeah, writing is hard. That's fine. Use the comments feature. I would still have to type it. Typing is difficult. Okay, it's gonna slow down the feedback process. I'm sorry. Yeah. So I think having the thought process as I read it out and I go through with how I would change it and we iterate, like it I think it works better because you can see my thought process as I read it. Right? If I'm commenting and giving you feedback, I'm condensing down my impressions, everything down into a few sentences. So I think being able to see how I read it and how if I stumble over something, you see it, right? I don't if I write feedback, if I type out feedback, it's me having read it multiple times, condensing it down, right? Yeah. So something more raw, I guess, could be helpful as well. Each step will provide a neutral, a new fear, or sinking in the background to be swallowed by the seemingly sentient darkness. Yeah, not bad. Eerie green blue light slowly cut through the shadows, giving aim to all wandering through the ambient shadows. Giving aim to so giving aim to all wandering through. So it's like giving them the direction to hit in. Yeah. Immigrant. Okay, so if you see giving aim to all wandering through, so it implies that this light is useful to people wandering through. But if there are no one, okay. So here's how I break it down, right? When you describe it in this way, it implies there are wanderers, right? See, if you don't imply that they are wanderers, you could also like say like giving aim to like drawing in the wild animals roaming around. See? So now you are implying that are animals, right? So in the way you describe it, it implies the certain presence or like shadows, or you can just not imply that there's anything and just say like illuminating the start point. See? So now no characters implied, right? So the thing is, if you say that there are wanderers or that there are people, right, it implies that there are people there. And so now the reader is thinking, are there people? Who are they? Right? So if there are wanderers, right, maybe you could put them like the wanderers trudge through the inky blackness. And so now when you get to this point, right, when the green blue lights cut through the shadows, giving aim to so rather than saying all those wandering, because you already implied that there are wanderers, you could put the wanderers at the start and then you say giving aim to the main characters. See? Or to the protagonist. So you introduce the protagonist here. Protagonist here. And then you let them trudge through the landscape. And then you say now it gets into this. Okay, this is very subtle. It's up to you. If it doesn't make sense to you, that's fine also. But this is how I would write it. Darkness was cold and careless, but this light was almost warm by comparison. Okay, it's interesting that you use warm to describe the green blue light because green and blue does not sound warm, but in comparison makes sense. Warm in comparison, right? Warm in, warm by. I'm not very sure. The Deng sense, the stopping wet trudging, and the maddening imagery. The stopping wet trudging. See, this trudging also implies that someone is here, that the wanderers are here, but I don't see them because you didn't introduce a protagonist, which is fine. Maybe the focus because I didn't tell you guys put in a character, right? But this one feels like you're almost dying to introduce someone. See, slipping in wet ground. Yeah. Yeah, it's the agonizing string skill louder. The blood force is suddenly very inviting. Yeah. At a comma. So this is how I would do that. Okay. Let's take a look. Oh my goodness. I'm not even halfway through. I think I'm like I think I'm like 20% through all the summation. Okay, we have this. And this. Okay, it's interesting. This is an aerial, and then this is in. No, there's a typo here also. The bright light. Okay, what's up? It's the nature. Okay, let's take a. Oh, there's another typo here. Appearing? Is it typo? I don't know actually. Appearing is one. Okay, yeah, I guess it's one hour. Appearing. So sentence fragment, technically, but it's okay. If you have sentence fragments, I will usually put sentence fragments as well. I think that's fine. Okay, let's go with this. I usually go with Poppins. Slightly easier to. This was how. Okay. The tense, right? Those were we didn't know is past tense. Were is past tense. No one took it seriously, so past tense. We are. So this is present tense. We are versus we were. Okay. I'm not sure. It's a bit confusing which tense you want, but let's say we go with past tense. This war was. Then this would be I can only hope. I could only hope. So this was how we didn't know what was coming. The nightfall came. Sunlight never returned. So it's started with a few people. They were first to see the night. Stars flicker all over the world, and no one took it seriously till the blackout. So mechanical machines came down from space. They will happen to weep too bright. You'll be like, I think I would simplify this. This feels like a filler word. So I would just say they were weak to bright UV light. Think about their metal didn't like it. In the span of one night, the whole world was captured in a dark net. So that's where I come in. Me and my group. We were sent to this one, yeah. So normally if it were third person, right, where the narrator is speaking, right, this would feel very informal. But because this is first person, I think that's fine because it comes across as like the character has like a personality and a voice, right? The character is speaking in like a, oh, that's where I come in. Well, it feels very casual dialogue, which is a nice touch. Rather than, oh, this is where me and my group comes in, right? Then it's not very formal exposition. Yeah, this one sounds more casual dialogue. We were sent into a forest where the invaders had taken up base. Set up camp? The set up camp feels better than take up space. Take up space could be a lot of things, right? Yeah, and had set up camp. Bright lights, typo. Intertwine. See, intertwine is now present tense, so you might want to make that past tense. Weakening trees with the darkness within viewing distance. Only hold the glimmers of lights I see are due. Dew doesn't give off light. Dew doesn't give off light. So this part comes across as a bit confusing. So this one, hmm. Yeah, so this is very law focused as well. I'm trying to pay attention to what this is supposed to be. So if we're looking at the description of the location, we get forest. They have set up camp. The invaders have set up camp. There's there's bright lights here. Weakening trees. Dark dome. And then glimmers of light. We don't really know if it's dew or artificial light, but we know there's light. So these are the description. Okay. I'm still confused whether or not like you are within the dome. Within okay, I guess you're not inside the dome. So okay, I think this works. Yeah, I feel like okay, maybe I'm a bit confused with like the UV light, so the dark dome. So they captured the world in a dark net. Then the dark dome is the dark dome referring to the same net, or is it like they have a second camp to make it dark as well? Right. But like if they don't like the light, then now the glimmers of light. Why is there light here? So I'm a bit I think the law is confusing me. That's why I'm trying to parse what the law is because like some parts of the logic is a bit confusing to me. Uh I can kind of tell a bit about the location, right? But if you were going for making because this is a very vivid picture, right? And if you're going for a very vivid scene, then you might want to go with like some of the earlier examples where there's like a wharf, you can smell, you can taste stuff, right? Uh like this one, right? You can taste and smell and experience things, right? Yeah, I'm trying it here. I struggle to do it to a certain extent because I'm not like I'm trying to parse like why is there a dark dome or whatever. Like yeah, maybe this could be to use a bit of work, but otherwise not bad. Like I think it's cool that you came up with law for this. Okay, stream of some violent. Okay, I'm gonna skip the ones which a bit more heavy on the lore. Yeah, not law. Yeah, okay. I awoke to the feeling of cool air on my body and the sound of a stream nearby. So, how long had I been slept for? Couldn't tell if it was 3 months or 9. Was it spring? I didn't know. I found myself with more questions than answers. I didn't know how where I got there. It seems indeed a near stream of running water. Yeah, small bridge. Okay. I noticed violet leaves. Okay. I was like, for a second, I was just violet leaves. Aren't these flowers? Okay, but sure. Let's take them as violet leaves. Ah. Okay. I awoke. Okay, so for some of the sentence structures feels a bit. Uh, it could feel like it could be. So the sound of a stream nearby, I would say of a nearby stream. How long had I been sleeping? I wouldn't say. I think that reads a bit easier. Okay, so this one's interesting also. I couldn't tell if it's 3 months or 9. right? I feel like when people wake up, they don't ask themselves it's been 3 months or 9 months. They say, have I been, have I been sleeping for only a few hours or has it been a few days? Right? 3 months or nine makes me think, is this character like non-human? You're gonna need some rest? Yeah, go for it, Rest, rest. I think oh, yours is next though. Okay, I can finish up real quick this one and then I'll work on yours also. But if you wanna sleep, you can go sleep. You can watch. I'll upload a recording. You can watch that tomorrow. Yes. Okay. So I couldn't tell if it's 3 months or 9s. Right. So it feels like a very unnatural question to ask unless it's a character who, like who tends to sleep for months at a time. So maybe I would say I couldn't tell if I had been it been day in hours or days. That sounds more natural for a person to ask. Okay, Netlock. Okay, Netlock, if you haven't done your homework, please just don't submit it. Don't put anything in the forum because I will click into it and I'll see it's empty. And then basically people are wasting time to to look at it. So I recommend wait until you are done. Because people are gonna click and people are gonna try and review, right? So it's not nice to make them click in and see it's empty. And then they will, oh yeah, I'm working on it. And then they have to check back a few days later to see that it's done. Or they check back and it's half written and then it's not done yet. Yeah, just only post once you have something ready. If that makes sense. Sounds like hibernation 3 months or 9. It does, yeah. If it has been hours or days, if it had been hours or days, was it spring or autumn? Okay. Yeah, but I guess the spring or autumn makes it. Maybe that's why the character asks if it's spring or autumn. That's why the tree. So it kind of implies that maybe they were in the middle of summer or like or winter, and therefore they ask 3 or 9 months because it's autumn or spring. But unless you are some character who sleeps for months at a time, this one would be weird. I slowly opened my eyes to try and discern which one it was. So I would take out this to discern. I wouldn't say to try and discern, I just say to discern. I found myself with more questions than answers. I didn't know how or where I got there. It seemed that I was indeed. Yeah. So I would take that out. I was when you say it seems, right, ask yourself if you can take that out. And I think here you can take it out. I was indeed near a stream of running water. Though it had a dark blue color, almost a pink. Yeah. Okay, this works. If you want to tighten the sentence a bit more, you could say had an inky dark blue color. Then it kind of gets the same effect without feeling like I have to read like an additional part. Small wooden bridge cross the river. Spanned the river. The river obscured by the thicket of trees and vegetation. Okay, so here's the thing. Small wooden bridge span the river, right? Here we can see it's very short, right? But to the reader's mind, right, they don't know how long it is, right? So if I'm trying to imagine a small wooden bridge, I might imagine it too big, right? So maybe you say like you can describe something about it, right? Maybe if you want to describe, okay, so with lengths, right? So here's something with length. Okay, we digress. Okay, when's the next workshop? The next class will be Wait, Katie, are you in the class? The next class is once a week. Small wooden bridge span the river, right? How long? Right? So one cheap way to do it is just say it's 8 meters long, right? But that's probably not what you want to do. I don't like to describe things in direct numbers. Hey Katie, if you wanna do the workshop, let me send you a link first. I think I don't like to describe things in terms of meters or feet because people would probably not be able to describe it, right? So I would say like maybe it's a bridge I can cross in 10 pieces, right? Or the bridge towers over me, right? Or you could say the bridge is barely as high as my waist, right? Stuff like that can help you visualize how big it is without resorting to numbers. So usually again I avoid using straight up like not I avoid using straight up metrics. Right? Don't tell me it's 32 degrees Celsius. Tell me it's warm. Right? Or it's just about warm enough to touch. But like not not too cold, but not to the point that it's burning either. Right? So that's kind of helpful. You can think about distance. Let me switch back to American. Near stream of running water. Was I in a forest? If you see trees around, you might not be asking yourself if it's a forest because it is. Right. So maybe you can say, was I in a forest? Right. But if it's very obvious that it's a forest, you can say I was in a forest. Or this was a forest. Or you say, why am I in a forest? Or why was I in a forest? So you can experiment before I could even think about it. This is also a clunky sentence. Before I could even think about if it were possible to discern the time. I say before I could think about discerning the time. I notice the front. Or you could say as I tried to discern the time. Right? I notice sunlight. So it's slightly different rather than saying before, it's during the discerning of time. Right? But I feel like it reads better. So if the order is not that important, you can say as I tried to discern the time, I noticed the sunlight. Violet leaves. Okay, yeah. So there's a bit of personality, right? The narrator comes across like there's a dialogue. I had to double check. I looked to the right, but the forest was too dark to discern. Okay, you're using the word discern quite a lot. As I tried to tell the time, or it's too dark to see any color. Discern is a very specific word. Okay, rest well. Okay, so instead of saying I look to the right, you see, you can also put to my right and then to my left. So it feels okay. This one would bring the reader closer to the action, right? To my left and to my right. If you say I looked right to my right and then I saw this, right? Then it takes the reader out of the action. They are now experiencing it through the narrator. But you can just say to my right, to my left. So now you are experiencing that as the reader. At least I thought they were okay. Okay, so now at least I thought they were, right? So here's your two options. You can see option one, there were some trees, mosses, and ferns, right? Option 2, there were like things that looked like trees, mosses, and ferns. And it feels like you are trying. So, option 1, right? If you're going for trees, mosses, and ferns, just say. So, option 1 here, you can say there were trees, mosses, and ferns, right? That's option 1. You can just say there were. Don't say it looked like, right? But if your intention was saying they looked like, but they're not actually, then what you want to do instead is they there were trees, mosses, and ferns, but something was off about them, right? What? Then now back to the question. What's off about them, right? Is it the colors, right? Is it the size? Are they too big or too small for what they were supposed to be? Like something was off about that. So now you can start to describe that, right? So maybe the leaves, yeah, leaves and forms didn't look like any plant that I was familiar with. See? So if they look like it, tell me why. What tipped you off that they were weird, right? If you see trees, you just say there were trees, right? If you don't say, oh, I walked down the floor that looked like a pavement and I saw plants that looked like trees. You just say I walked down the street and there were trees, right? So if you are saying it looks like a tree, why? What makes it feel off about it? I expected. Okay, you won't say something like, again, if you want to tighten the sentence and make it more concise, right? Something like feels like hedging. I expected pink and white blossoms to mark spring, see? Or perhaps intense yellow and orange to mark autumn. These were familiar sights at home. I had never seen violet on a tree before and certainly not with the leaves. Yeah, okay, this had to be impossible. Someone had to be playing an elaborate prank on you. Okay, yeah. So recommendation, like generally some parts, I mean it's not bad. It does give me a vivid explanation of it, like of the scene. Some sentences could be tightened up, right? Like the sentence structure needs, like, feels like is a bit, could be cleaner to read. And some of it could be like you take out certain words like it looked like, you just tell me that it's, right? To bring me closer to the attention as the reader. So stuff you can think about. Otherwise not bad. Like, there was like I like setting wise I could picture that. So that's good. Yeah. This must be real dull because I'm trying it's in OneDrive. Mm. Okay, let's go with the first one because I can see stuff I would like to give feedback on. Uh, I don't know how copy pasting works into this. But it looks like, oh, I can't copy paste the images. It's fine. Oh, one of the prompt images, so I can just look there. Okay. So the sound of whirring can be heard as the scientist entered the room. So what I would do is don't say whirring can be heard as the scientist entered the room. Okay. Or you could say the machines were whirring, right? Because whirring is already a sound. So we don't need to say can be heard. You can just say the machines were whirring as the scientist entered the room. See, so just like that, right? The sound of whirring versus the machines were whirring, right? That gives you more description. for like what's basically the same amount of words. In front of him are okay. Oh, sorry, it's present tense. In front of him are a bunch of pots, all lined up perfectly along the metal path. Inside them are a bunch of men. Okay, so this one is like each pot have multiple people, right? You can say in each one, like each one contain a person. Right, and now you can a person, a sleeping man, sleeping man. Okay, all of them are peacefully asleep with okay, so English wise with an electrogram. Okay, oh, I wouldn't do this all the science shenanigans. If it were a first person, right? Where someone is just like, oh, I walked in here, I saw this. And if the person is not a science person, they might be like, oh yeah, all the hard science shenanigans. As a narrator, you want to describe what they are. So you want to say it measures the heart rate or whatever, right? You just say it monitors their vitals, right? If you tell me the hard science shenanigans, it just tells me that the narrator doesn't give a shit, right? In fact, it might even feel like the author is writing about a topic that they don't know about, right? So if you are not sure, I recommend doing your research to understand what it is rather than making it obvious to the reader that you don't know and you didn't look it up. You don't say harsh science shenanigans that kind of throws the reader out of the story a bit. Okay. Yeah, but if you don't want to use like big terms like electrocardiograph, whatever, like yeah, so peacefully asleep. All of them are peacefully asleep with yeah. The pots are outfitted with pipes that also regulate the airflow and temperature. Interestingly, okay, why interesting, right? Like and them. Okay, so you talked about the pots and then you talk about them, right? Okay. Okay. So here's how I would take a note. All right. So this again, this is a bit more subtle. This one is going into a lot of writing technique that you don't. I'm not expecting you guys to know straight up. But let's say we were to break it down, right? Here, I'm seeing a sentence that is the narrator knows what is going on, right? So omniscient narrator. See, if if I say the pots are outfitted with pipes, right? The narrator doesn't know what the pipes do. See? So maybe yeah, which is fine, right? But now you see now you're talking about all of them look pretty built, right? As if their bodies have been augmented, right? The narrator doesn't know. Okay, so now we need to say all of the men look pretty well built, right? Know what treatment has been done to the subject, right? But if you tell me all of the men look pretty built too, as like because their bodies have been enhanced with a drug. So now the narrator knows what has been done to the subject. So you need to think about the omniscient narrator, and I think this is, I would just call this limited narrator, right? So this is why it comes across as very confusing, because I don't know if the narrator is supposed to be limited or omniscient. Because on one hand, you are telling me what the different parts are doing, because the narrator knows all. Then the next sentence says the narrator doesn't know it all. Right? So now it comes across as a bit confusing. So if you are describing and you say the pipes regulate airflow, then you should probably tell me that they are freely built. So again, avoid the word loop. That all of them sounds like pods. You see, you're talking about the pods. So you see, all of the men were pretty built, were well built, as if their bodies actually are. They don't seem to be starved too. Okay, you see, now they don't seem, they were not starved. Right. Uh, okay, sure. Some of these things attached must have. You see, so now the narrator is like, they must have, right? Maybe. We don't know what's going on. So otherwise, some of the, yeah, I think it's a point of view issue, right? Are you a narrator who knows everything? Or are you the narrator who is just observing this and trying to explain it to the reader? Okay, so I think about what you want to achieve with this, and I think the writing would be clearer. Yeah. Otherwise, not bad. Like it feels like there is a law and there's a storyline that you're trying to get at. Yeah, but if the narration is a bit muddy here and you're not certain, right? Then it's good to think about it. Wow, oh my goodness. Okay. I think we will just do one more because I I should probably rest for the night. Okay, so let me take a look. Yeah, I don't think I can go through everything. Holy shit. We have been doing this for the past hour and a half now. Okay. From your headquarters. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Okay, these two are interesting. Let's take a look. We'll do two more for two last ones. Alright. Okay. So looking at the city image. Over a bright gaze of the sun shone, shine the word. Past participle. English. Shine the silver. Okay, maybe that's just me. Yeah, British English. Okay, so American English does use shine. Okay, wow, I'm learning new things. Okay, that's why it felt weird to me, but I guess in American English is fine. You prefer shine. Okay, yeah, because I think my setting is set to British. I don't know. Yeah. Overbearing gaze shine through the glass of new harmony. The city was full of tall buildings. that reach up past the clouds into the night sky. Okay, so tall is a descriptive, it's an adjective, right? You could make it more powerful, right? Then you could use towering, right? Towering feels stronger than just tall. Uh, Again, use in moderation. You don't want everything to be like, oh, he walked up the enormous steps towards the towering building in the glamour underneath beneath the glamorous sun or whatever, right? Use in moderation, but it feels here when you just say tall, right? Do you want to make it feel impressive, right? Call it towering, right? You know, use words that feel a bit more powerful. Woven. Woven sounds like a species, so I think this is a furry thing. Wovens are woven. What's the plural of woven? Wovens? Yeah. Ooh, okay, this is a very long sentence too. Okay, this sentence by itself spans 4 lines. Okay, so you might want to break it up. Uh okay, here's a general rule that I use for myself. Alright. I go for about 3 to 4 point forms at most. Okay. So let's break it down. City full of towering buildings. That's point number one. They reach up past the clouds and into the night sky. Sure. Point two. Maybe point I would even break it down as like this is 1 point. And then the night sky, it being night is another point. Right? Millions of woven on the ground and in the sky bridges. This is kind of like 2 points, right? Millions of woven on the ground. Millions of woven in the sky bridges. So now you're also explaining sky bridges. See, there's a 2 point. City was bustling with activity. So there's another point form, right? Late evening. A lot of them are in the process. So these are all point forms. You are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different points. So how would I do it such that each sentence has 2 to 3 point forms? Right? I would stop this here. Millions of women like walked on the ground and on the sky bridges. Yeah, this would be one sentence. The city was bustling in the activity. With activity, I could move this in front. Right? The city was bustling with activity in the late evening. See? Why? What kind of activity? Then we explain that the activity is really mostly people walking. Right? Then you don't have to say millions twice. So many of them were many of them were in the process of leaving work. So this one feels like filler. You don't have to tell me they were in the process of leaving work. You just tell me they were leaving work and making their way home. Okay, and now this one feels more readable. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 sentences. You see, so that was one sentence that could be broken down into 4 to make it easier to read. So something to think about. Okay, the scent of salt and CO2 permeates the air. Okay, this is interesting. What does CO2 smell like? Like, if you tell me there's the smell of salt, I can tell you, yeah, there's a smell of salt. If you tell me there's a smell of CO2, I would not be able to tell you what that feels like. You can tell me that there is CO2 in the air, carbon dioxide. Okay, so firstly, I would try not to use CO2. I would just say carbon dioxide, right, in English. I can smell what salt is. I'm not sure what CO2 smells like. Are you thinking of car exhaust, right? Are you thinking of like dust, right? Are you thinking of like a weird strong smell? Describe it. I'm not sure I know what the carbon dioxide smells like. It's a beautiful place at night. Okay, night is coming. Night came? Yeah, you can say it's night. It's a beautiful place at night. Okay, so what's the goal? Above all the buildings stood the tallest of them all. Above all of the buildings stood the tallest of them all. Ooh, okay, wait. Let's try to simplify the sentence structure again. Above all of the buildings stood the tallest of all. The Scarlet Tower. Okay, so how would I simplify? The Scarlet Tower. I can't say towered over the other building. Okay, rose over the other building. Okay. Uh, in the city. It was North Hall main headquarters. I could combine it. So I'll do a M dash. Oh, I don't have my shortcut here. Hang on. I don't have my shortcut here. Okay. Let me add the typing. Oh, is this the M dashes? Okay, that works. Sure, let's use. So North Hall's main headquarters. Rose over the other buildings. Was a windowless concrete tower in various slips and slopes. What slips and slopes? Not sure I understand what is slips and slopes, but are they slanted rooftops? Is the building a pyramid that made of glass? Okay, not glass, but concrete. Okay, yeah. So something to think about. Like it feels like it could be a bit tighter. I make my way through the doors, making my way through the crowd. Oh, okay. I make my way through the doors, and then it comes here, making my way through the crowd. So again, this is not. I don't think this is intentional repetition, right? Sometimes you can repeat things with the intention to show repetition, but you might want to say, I enter through the doors. I push through the crowd. Through the crowd remain in the opposite direction. So you could just say opposite direction. I don't think you need to say it myself. Or you enter. You could say trying to exit. As they exited. You are entering while they exit. You don't have to say they are in the opposite direction to myself. That feels a bit clunky. But I think this one is nitpicking is up to you. I'm just trying to simplify the sentences to make it easier to read. Scientific Command had ordered a meeting tonight once everyone had left, apparently. Something revolving around. Okay, this one is a bit like apparently feels very casual, but I'm gonna take it that it's dialogue from the narrator because the narrator seems to be since this is a first person story. Most of the people stuck around were higher ranking staff wanting to attend. So rather than saying wanting to attend, you can say they're just attending the meeting. Yeah. Then after that, again, break it up, right? I think there's a habit here of like just combining everything. So you just say there was a pair of foxes sitting at the table drinking coffee. Then split it up again, right? A woven sat on the bench, right? With the sky outside, something dim. The lights are brighter than ever. Yeah. Again, this is a long sentence, so you might want to break it down. Okay, let's try another one. Did within the Northmost headquarters. There's a storyline. For the primary research laboratories. You see, so this is a long one too. Split that up. Corridors ran in all directions. Okay. There's of all kinds, several racks for the halls, names of men. Capsule. Okay, so rather than not saying they're men, firstly, people try to avoid men. You can say men and women to use inclusive language, right? But if they are scientists, right? Tell me they are scientists, right? I think it's fine to say scientists in this case. You don't have to tell men and then you expect me to infer that they're scientists. You can just tell me they're scientists. Between, you don't have to tell me different stations. You can just say moving between the stations with an occasional sample in hand. Yeah. Okay. I will usually avoid like distances and units. I won't say meters, kilometers. You can say like the entire complex span half the city. Right. But there's a personal preference. You can want to say kilometers, sure. I can say, but if you want to say it's big, you can say spend almost half the city. Right. I think it's up to you. This feels like your English essay tuition throughout your school years. You miss this a lot. It's been a while since we did fiction and creative writing. We should do that. At one desk. At a desk in lab L3 sat a young woman. Okay. Sat a young woman. Right. And then like yeah, like her left hand was typing at the computer while the other was occupied with a tissue sample. Feel like this reads a bit better, just slightly better. So don't worry too much about it. On the screen was a complex program designed to analyze. You don't have to tell me it's designed to analyze. You can tell me it's analyzing. Just tell me it's already analyzing. So don't no need to tell me L3 because like repeated information. The door swung open and a young woman stood. Mr. Harrelson. Uh oh, okay. Dialogue, usually you want to put dialogue in his own line. Right. And he questioned, right? But we already know his questioning. Right. So we can take out the his question. Right. So you say then you just put the clipboard here, holding a clipboard. You don't need to say he held a clipboard in his hands because we know that when you hold a clipboard, it's in his hands. The only time you need to tell me is when it's not in his hands. So you could say under his arm, right? But if you tell me holding the clipboard, I would imagine it's in his hands. Yeah. Okay. Unlike the rest of the stuff, he was not wearing a lab coat. You can just tell me he wore an elegant suit. He wearing an elegant suit and holding a clipboard. See? So now you're telling me the suit, right? But if he came in already, the first thing I would notice is the suit, right? So I would put that earlier so that I see the suit first. And then the clipboard later. Insert the temple line holder, then turn to face the woven. You might wanna standardize the capitalization of woven. So you want it capital or lower? Okay, so I'll put it. The scientific format is representing animal example. No need to say the woven in form because you already know is it. I would recommend looking at dialogue. I think I do talk about this in a future lesson, so stay tuned. Dialogue is interesting. You don't have to say he informed, she replied, he responded, he lamented. Like that can be excessive. if you can imply that who is saying what, right? You don't have to tell me twice, right? Just let the dialogue speak for itself, literally. Um, okay. I think with that, I will end stream for today. Holy shit, that was a lot. That was a lot of reading. My throat is a bit painful from teaching like an hour and a half of lessons and then another hour and a half reviewing. I hope this was informative for you guys though. Like if it's not useful, do tell me. I think it's good to get the feedback as well. How do you guys find it? I hope like was it useful? Do you feel like you're learning new things? Cause I worry that you guys are like oh no you didn't okay. So I'm hoping that by reviewing some of like other people's stuff, you can also learn from it. I'm sorry I cannot get to everyone's stories because that will take too long. But I hope like yeah, that's a takeaway. Yeah. Always learning things from reviewing. Alright, I hope you guys found it helpful. Let's read out today. I see maybe is streaming. So we'll send you guys there. And then I will probably get some rest for the weekend. Alright, thanks so much for coming. Have a good night, you guys. Bye bye.